Okay.
All right. Well, like I said, thank you so much for doing this. We met about a month ago at the horror convention in Hampton, Virginia, and talked a lot. And I definitely wanted to hear more. So I'm so happy we're here today.
Okay.
So I guess my
Shoot.
first,
I'm I'm here to answer any question.
any question? Well, I got a
I'm
bunch
gonna
here,
make up the answers anyway.
but
Okay.
I wanted to put this on first.
Very good. Okay, let me see. I gotta reach in my pocket. Oh no, what had happened to my pocket? I got poo on my finger. Oh, excuse me. I don't know. Poo on my finger. I don't know how that. Okay,
I'd be going for a minute.
you've got that, and I've got
Oh,
that.
yes.
There you go.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Okay, we'll both have a moment for a
I
second.
can't
There
talk
you
with that on though.
go.
So my first question for you would be, how did you get started in the business?
I didn't have a choice. My parents were acrobats. I was on the road when I was 5 months old in my parents' act. And when I could start to talk, they started doing jokes with me. So we could then do nightclubs because you have to do a 20-minute act at a nightclub. And an acrobatic act is like 4 minutes long. You know what I mean? 5 minutes long. You can't do acrobatics for anyway. So I was doing stand up with my dad at a very young age, literally as soon as I could talk. And somebody saw me in the audience and said to my father, he should do commercials. Call this agency. They handle kids. So I went into the agent, and that's how I got my name Morgan. My real last name is Pinansky, but my parents' act was Morgan and May. I got my first agent when I was 7 years old. The agent said, the Pinanskys got to go. And my father said, how about Morgan? Because their act was Morgan and May. And so that's how I became Gary Morgan. Got my first agent, started going on auditions, getting commercials, TV shows. Um, I was off Broadway when I was 8. I was on Broadway when I was 10. And then when I was 12 in different Broadway shows. When I was 10, I was in a show with Lillian Gish. When I was 8, I was in a show with Peter Falk. It was his first job, first professional job. It was 1958. And so now people are doing the math. I was 8 and 58. So that makes me 72. I'll just cut to the chase. Anyway, I was in a show when I was 10 with Lillian Gish, the famous silent movie star. Anyway, in my dressing room, I was roommates with Jeff Conaway. He was 9, I was 10. We were in Boston breaking in the show when JFK won the presidency in Boston, 1960. That is huge.
Wow.
What in Boston. Anyway, then when I was 12, I did a show where I played Henry Fonda and Olivia de Havilland's son. Olivia de Havilland from Gone with the Wind.
Mhm.
She played my mother. Anyway, so that's how I got in the business. But my parents were acrobats, but in dancing school. So I grew up in a dancing school. So I learned how to dance. My father taught trampoline and circus skills. So I had all that background. Um, when I came to California, I was 18. I just came out for a couple of weeks just to see what would happen, from New York. I did a movie in New York called Poppy with Alan Arkin. And then with the money I made from that, I came to California just for the couple of weeks in the summer. It was the summer of 68. My cousin was a hippie, and I came out to stay with my cousin for a while. But I had an agent. The agent said, if you stay here, you'll work because, you're a good type. I was 18. I looked like I was 14. Anyway, so I started working right away. That's how I got in the business. First off, though, when I went to the beach and I hooked up with this guy at the beach in Santa Monica, a guy named Russ Saunders, who was Gene Kelly's stunt double for his entire career. And he was a circus guy too. So he kind of took me under his wing, trained me for circus, took me on auditions, got my first job. The audition he set me on was to play a missing link, like a monkey, because I could do that stuff. I was a dancer and all that. Went to Jamaica. Um, on this picture called Skullduggery with Burt Reynolds. It was an early Burt Reynolds movie, and it really wasn't very good. It didn't do very well. But because of that, I hope with that producer and his wife and the stunt coordinator at that time, a guy named Buzz Henry, famous second unit director, and changed the course of my career. Um, I did Logan's Run for that same producer. We stayed friends, all these years, and kind of took me under his wing. I was 18. I was alone in Hollywood, and I felt God's hand so much on my life and my career, on who he hooked me up with, good people in the business, people that were respectful, and
Sure.
I was very successful in life because a lot of people get advice. A lot of people get good advice. Do you take the advice? I mean, I took the advice of all these people, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
followed that path. And that's how I would say, really started in the business.
Well,
My
that's
parents
amazing.
put me in it. It's like my kids. They were doing commercials before they even know what, it's like the family business. It's just what you do. And then you're an adult and you're already in the business. You've got a career and credits and a pension. And, at 12, you know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So it was not something that I chose to do. It's just something that I was kind of born into and just followed it. So
Well, I
there
find
you
that
go.
that's the case with a lot of circus families too. You got like 7 generations of people in the circus, and that's all they know how to do, and that's what they always do. So
Right. Right.
very similar.
Just you're part of the family. Yeah. I always say circus is great family values. People in the circus, the kids are in, they get them dressed up, they put them in the act, but they learn discipline, they learn they got to show up, they learn they got a job to do, they have responsibilities at
Yeah.
a very young age. It's actually very healthy.
They're the most disciplined people I've ever met have been circus people. I mean, they're so like focused, it's insane. I wish I had that kind of
Yeah.
focus. Well, I wanted to do a thing where I went through your IMDb, I found all these amazing credits. I wanted to do a thing where
Yeah.
I name a title of a project that you worked on, and I want to hear like your most fond memory of that from that title, if that's okay.
Okay.
So I want to start with Matilda, actually.
Matilda was a story about a boxing kangaroo. A guy named Paul Gallicos wrote the novel, and it was a very sweet project. I was doing a project called Grimm's Brothers Fairy Tales at the studio, and I was playing a dog in it. I was one of the Bremertown musicians. I don't know if you know the fairy tale,
I've heard
but
of it,
it's a
yeah.
Grimm's Brothers. Doesn't matter. So kind of hanging out at the studio, rehearsing, and there's a punching bag set up. So I started punching the speed bag because my dad used to be a boxer, and we always had a speed bag set up, and I knew how to do that. And the coordinator comes over and looks at me, and goes, "Oh my God, Gary, how tall are you?" I told him. He goes, "What's your shoe size?" I told him. He goes, "We're desperate. We're doing this movie. Al Ruddy, who produced The Godfather, is producing this movie, and the guy that's in the kangaroo suit just dropped out. He was a boxer, and he couldn't do the stunts that was required, and he just dropped out. And we're desperate. The suit's already made. They can't remake the suit. We got to find somebody that could fit in the suit that could do this movie." So I went down, and as luck would have it, I fit in the suit, and I do all that stuff. I'm a mime and a dancer, and I double animals. Like my first job was a missing, and I got this part. It was with Elliot Gould, Robert Mitchum. Um, who else was in that movie? Just a bunch of people. Art Matrano. There's a whole, but come on, get to work with Robert Mitchum,
Yeah.
and so that was it. We shot it in Reno. I got to be in the ring. I got all that experience of like a full auditorium of people like at a boxing match, heavyweight champion of the world, and I got to like hop down the aisle, with the
Right,
guy,
right.
just like a so fun, such fantasy, and I was like this undefeated kangaroo.
Right.
This kangaroo becomes like anyway,
I
very
found a
silly, and
clip
mob
from
was involved. There was mafia.
I found a Johnny
What's
Carson
that?
clip. Weren't you on Johnny Carson in the costume?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw that. Yeah.
That was a great experience too, because I got to go do the promo tour. And so Robert Mitchum was on the Carson show. He was bringing the kangaroo on, you know what I mean? It was right before the movie opened. And I got to hang out with Mitchum, like in the dressing room and telling me stories. And, you know, an aide brought in a big glass of liquid, you know what I mean? Dark, I mean, a tumbler, you
Yeah.
know, and put it down. And I'm hanging out, and Mitchum ignored it. And they go, okay, you know, Bob, you're up. So as Mitchum walks out, he takes the glass. It was solid whiskey, you know, and just drank it down like it was water, you know what I mean? And put it down. And we went out and did the show. So,
That's
and
awesome.
it was Matilda. And I got to do shtick with Johnny Carson on it. You know, it was fun.
That sounds like a great time.
And Margaret was on the show too. And I got to, right before, you know, I got to give Anne Margaret a hug. That was a memory of that.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome. Yeah, I found that clip. I was like, I'm sure there's a story there with Johnny and everything. That's awesome.
oh, so listen, Al Ruddy. I said to Al Ruddy, you know, could you say my name? You know what I mean? So, because I'm in a kangaroo suit. And Ruddy goes, no, 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 I don't want anybody to put a name with the kangaroo. We want to keep the mystery. I went, all right. But on the show, Johnny Carson goes, well, what's the guy's name in the suit? I didn't, you know, Carson just said, and Mitchum goes, Gary Morgan. And Carson goes, Gary Morton? He goes, no, Gary Morgan. And then somebody else says, no, Gary Morgan. So then Mitchum goes, under the heart of that suit beats the heart of Gary Morgan. He said like 6 times. And I knew Al Ruddy was probably cringing at home watching this because he's, don't say your name.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Well, I'm glad they did. The next project that I found was, of course, how can we ignore the shirt Cujo?
Cujo. I put the shirt on because I know you're a horror fan.
Oh yeah.
Um, Cujo was another one of these things. They needed a guy to double the dog. They had a dog, but so I just went on the audition, but I, you know, I just kind of went in and said to the guy, you know, you need me. I mean, there's nobody could do this better than me, you know, because, and I'm a stuntman. I'm willing to get hurt, you know, and I did all the attack scenes with the star in the dog suit. When you saw the dog attacking someone that was attacking a stunt person or the trainer, you know, the trainer would get dressed up like the actor because there were some vicious, you know, attacks, you know, staged with this dog always on the stunt person. But when you saw the star's face or the actor's face, like the sheriff, a lot of people that got killed, you know, the neighbor, the guy's neighbor, anybody that gets killed by the dog, and you see them, it's me in the suit attacking them. And then they cut to a wider shot of the real dog attacking the trainer and then back, you know what I mean? It's just cut back and forth.
Right.
And I also did the scene where the dog runs and smashes into the car door. You can't train an animal to hurt themselves, okay?
For sure.
At least more than once, you know. Animals are too smart. Not a stuntman. Like you get ready, you go rolling, and you're saying to yourself, "Here comes the pain." You know, action, smash into the, you know,
That's
put
fantastic.
blood on. They put blood on my head, put blood on the top of the dog suit, so that when you hit the door, you know, it left a mark. So
And that was Carl Miller
was
that
Cujo.
trained the dog, right? Carl Miller trained the Saint Bernard.
Yeah, they had like 3 of them. He was great. Carl Miller was, you know, the consummate dog trainer.
Well, they say never work
At
with
the audition,
animals and
so
children.
there was both in that movie. Dean
Yeah.
Wallace will tell you don't work with animals. They had both. So, but it was fun. You had to trick it because, you know, Saint Bernards are not attack dogs.
Mhm.
It's a mastiff. They just kind of grab on, and you know, they're huge, bite and take the victim to the ground and then bite them on the neck. They wanted attack scenes like a Doberman or a German Shepherd. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was, they had to make it look like that. They had all these little tricks, you know. A couple times they had to take the dog's tail with monofilament and tie it down because the dog's tail's wagging. The dog thinks he's playing, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? On a lot of it. They had a critter cage. It's like a little hamster cage with a piece of fur in it. And they, wait.
Uh,
Sorry,
Oh, you're good.
two voice. Okay, that because I'm using my phone. And they'd shake the critter cage, and the dog would like go crazy to try to get to this. It's like a toy. It's like a squeaky toy. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And so a lot of times the dog was just trying to get like on the outside of the car. He'd be out there and he'd be, they go, dig it up, dig it up, dig it up. You know what I mean? And the dog would be, and they have to take his tail down because his tail's wagging because, he thinks he's playing.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
with all these little tricks to make it look like they're being attacked. So
Right. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a
it's like,
Saint Bernard attack video or anything. So I can definitely see where
no, no,
that's
they
something you
don't.
never think about, right? How they would
Right.
make
I
that
mean,
happen.
Carl Miller kept saying, does it have to be St. Bernard?
Yeah.
Carl Miller's going, does it have to be a St. Bernard? Can it be a Doberman? Can we change the dog? They went, no, it's got to be. So Carl was a great dog trainer. That's how all that, stuff to make it look like that was all Carl Miller training it. So
Carl Miller, one of the best. Let's see. What about
this
last?
is funny. I did a movie, but I got to tell you about Carl Miller. I was doing another movie called Unaccompanied Minors. And in that, they had a dog that has bite the baggage handler on the crotch. Me and this other baggage,
I saw that. Yeah.
bite him on the crotch, and they did this whole. Okay, so I'm on this movie, and this girl that's got the dog walks up to me and says, "Are you Gary Morgan?" I went, "Yeah." She said, "Weren't you Cujo?" I went, "How would you know that?" She goes, "I'm Carl Miller's daughter. I grew up seeing your picture on my living room wall." You know what I mean? It was Carl Miller's daughter that trained the dog for unaccompanied minors. So
Wow, that's
little
Teresa, I
tie-in
believe.
from Carl.
I think her name is Teresa Miller.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah. My friend,
no kidding.
Robert Weatherwax is the son of Bob Weatherwax, and he told me that. He told me about Teresa.
I know him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
how
leads me to
funny
my
you knew
my
that name.
next dog
Because I
movie
did.
that you were in, Lassie. How
I was
was it?
just going to say you said Weatherwax, and he had Lassie. Uh, I doubled the kid in that. I don't know, it was a 12-year-old kid who owned Lassie, who gets swept down the rapids in a river, and Lassie rescues it.
Mhm,
I did all the whitewater stuff, being swept down the river.
mhm.
Me and this other stunt girl, who's doubling the little girl in it. You know what I mean?
Heidi Berger, right?
And Lassie didn't. That was the actress's name. No,
The stunt person.
it's Michelle Williams. Oh, I think it was Birgit. No, or was it Svetla? It's either Birgit Shire. I think it was Birgit Shire
Okay.
who was the stunt double on that for sure. It doesn't matter. Lassie didn't like the one. They had different Lassies.
Yeah.
Bob Weatherwax had like 3 different dogs that had different things. You know what I mean? The pretty Lassie, who's just, that's the one that, for the close-ups of Lassie. But they had a water Lassie that they would throw in the rapids to be swept down with us as Lassie is. And then Lassie goes over the falls. They had another half a dog we used to call Happy. It was like a stuffed dog. It was just the top. You know what I mean? But no, that was Happy. Was the half a dog that like a diver had like a puppet, going down it for some of the shots. But then we had one called Stiffy. That was this stiff one that they threw over the falls. This like fake Lassie. You know what I mean? To
Right.
go down over the.
Wow.
God,
And that was in Virginia,
so,
right?
yeah. And the New River, Virginia, and it was freezing cold. It was right. They went for peak leaf season, in the fall, so because it was so pretty. But there was like frost on the ground. You know what I mean? Already, it was just right before it was going to snow, and we were in that river, which was freezing cold, being swept down. And while I'm doing it, I'm going, I hope my family appreciates what I do to support them. Stuff, man. Like, anyway,
I
it was
grew up
Lassie.
I grew up swimming in that river, and I can tell you, it never gets better, even in the summertime.
Really,
It's
it
always
was cold.
terrible. How about Big Top Pee Wee? What are your memories of working on that?
Big Top Pee Wee was probably my, out of all the movies I've ever done, my second best experience.
Oh, really?
Only because it was a circus movie.
Yeah.
And all my circus buddies were there, and animals. There was like all these animals on it. And I doubled Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
In the trapeze scene. And with this other girl named Karen Price, who was a stunt double for the lead, and that was Valeria Golina, who is this hot Italian star, this like Italian movie star. And it was just a scene where Pee Wee's trying to figure out which acts he wants to do in the circus.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was a trapeze act. So I doubled him on the trapeze with this other stunt girl where we do this like catch. So it was so fun. We were getting paid to rehearse on the trapeze. This one guy had, different animals, but he had a lion, a young male lion, staked up to a rope. And he'd go to me, he'd go play with my lion. I want him to get used to people. So you got to go wrestle with a lion cub. You know what I mean? That whole movie, they had a hippopotamus, they had a rhinoceros. There was a hippopotamus in the movie. And the guy that owned the hippopotamus had a rhinoceros in the truck.
Right.
And he was trying to sell the rhinoceros to the movie. Like, wouldn't it be funny if Pee Wee was riding a rhino? It never happened.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
It was going to work every day was at Disney Ranch.
Yeah, I think they
They
still.
had Michael Jackson.
I think they still have that house that they used in the on the Disney Ranch for that film, for Pee Wee's house. I think it's still there.
Oh, I'm sure it is. It was probably an existing, house on the property that they decorated for Pee Wee's house. And
Yeah.
Chris Christopherson was on that movie, and he's a buddy of mine. We're like pals, so that was fun hanging with Chris. And it was just a great fun. And there was, giants and midgets and, all the circus folk that are like my friends were on that picture. So that was a fun movie to go to work on.
Yeah, I brought this too.
I forgot who directed it.
This is from 2010.
Who's the guy?
That's Paul and myself.
Pee Wee and who?
And that's me. That's me from
and you
10 years ago.
Oh, I didn't recognize you without the beard.
Yeah. It's a long,
Wow.
old photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the yeah.
I got one of those doubling him. I got the picture.
Yeah, it's rare that he takes photos like that.
Yeah, I still see Paul, at a couple of events that we always go to. So
oh, good. That's awesome.
Many years later.
He's definitely one of my favorites as well. So when I found out that you were involved with that, I was like, oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Let's see. Back to the Future 2 and 3.
Back to the Future was another adventure making, because we did all the R&D. So we were on for, at least a month before we started filming, just figuring out how to make the hoverboards work. I did the hoverboard stunts, Biff's gang. There's a big stunt where, Marty's in like this little pond and Biff's gang's coming after him, you know what I mean? And crashes through the courthouse window and changes history. The newspaper, because that happened, it changed, history. So anyway, figuring out how to make it look like we are on a hoverboard. We had cranes and wires and, big airbags. And it was really fun figuring that out, but very dangerous. The wires were snapping. We were getting, it was very tenuous, especially, part of the stuff was we had to swing and then they cut the cables and we all landed on pads or airbags and, rehearsing that. They were wrecks. It's like, oh my God. And they did it with sandbags. I remember sitting in the car in my van out at the second unit director had like a ranch out in Agua Dulce. And that's where we did all the rehearsals.
Right.
And they did it with sandbags instead of people at first. And they were practicing to get the swing of the crane, to fling us. And they would cut the cable and like two of the bags would hit, one of the bags would be hit the dirt, miss the airbag completely,
Yeah.
and Richie would go, "Oh, Gary, that was you," that sandbag, or like, they go, "Oh, Richie, oh man, you just hit that rock," watching the sandbag, and then they put us in it. We're going, "Oh man," so. And there was a bad accident when we actually filmed it that is kind of famous now, but it was interesting, working with Zemeckis and Michael J. Fox, who's such a sweet guy. My kids would come to the set and take pictures with him, and
Christopher Lloyd as well.
Was
Christopher Lloyd, nice guy.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd is a great guy. I know Christopher Lloyd from Taxi because Jeff Conaway, who I shared a dressing room with when we were 10, was on Taxi. So I used to meet Chris a lot. Chris is one of those guys, when you look him in the eye, you're not sure if he's there. Yeah. I mean, he's so kooky and crazy, but I mean, he's an intelligent guy. He just has this persona, like Doc. I mean, he's so Doc. I mean, all of that crazy stuff on Taxi and everything.
That's him.
That's Christopher. It's really, there's a lot of that in him. So
yeah,
I love Christopher.
Yeah, he seems like an awesome guy. Let's see. How about, well, I can't forget about this. This is how I first found out about you. Mr. World in the Kidsongs film. I mean, that's my favorite of all time.
That's so funny because that's one of those jobs you take and you go, nobody's going to see this. You know what I mean? I could be so silly. It was actually my neighbor, a couple of doors down from me, was the producer of Kidsongs videos. And that was a thing for Warner Brothers. They had this whole series of tapes aimed at like 5, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. And they were all, they called them Kidsongs. They had headings like silly songs or, Old McDonald's Farm. And they had like farm songs, all these different videos with little kids in it. And I got my daughter, in a couple of the kid videos. Then they came to me and they go, "We got this character that we want to know if you'll do." I did it for so little money. And it was early on of these video things. So that Screen Actors Guild, we didn't have a contract for that yet. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it was basically non-union. So I didn't even take credit under my own name. I thought I took credit under my dad's name, Barney Panansky. So if you see the end of the credits, Mr. World, it doesn't say Gary Morgan. And then years later, I didn't want to get in trouble with the union. And I thought nobody's going to see it anyway. Well, little did I. And I was in this big globe suit. And we take the kids all over the world doing songs from like Italy, London, and Japan. And it's this little fantasy video with all these little kids in it. And so anyway, I had a pet monkey that I had the monkey. So that we shot the scene that's supposed to be Jamaica. I have my monkey in that. Anyway, I thought nobody's going to see this. It turns out that it was the #1 kids video. Kids, it went so big. Well, you saw it.
I did.
I was at my high school reunion, my 20th high school reunion. All my friends from high school going, "Hey, Mr. World." I could always tell who had a 5-year-old. You know what I mean? Because Demi Moore. I was working, I knew Demi very well. I was working on a picture with Demi and she comes up to me. She goes, "I'm going to take that video and stick it right up somewhere because my kid watches it 3 times a day and it's insipid." It's kid stuff.
Yeah.
So I was in a mall one time and a little kid taps me on the shoulder. I mean, like, with his mother. And I went, "Yeah." He's, "You're Mr. World, aren't you?" Which is crappy.
That would have been me. I would have been that kid.
Yeah. Yeah. That was fun too. I had a lot of fun jobs. That was, and they said to me, "Get the kids reacting. Do anything you want. Just go for it." You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I've got to see with spaghetti. I'm putting spaghetti on the kid's head just to get the kids, to be involved. So it was fun.
Yeah, I remember being a kid watching that on repeat as well, and I was like, "Dang, it'd be cool to meet that guy." And what do you know? Like,
there you go.
Let's see. Let's see. I have a whole list of films here. How about Eight Heads in a Duffel Bag?
I did stunts on that. Not a lot of story. Like a little story. We were stuntmen that were supposed to, have no heads, because our heads were in a duffel bag. I don't even remember the movie well, but we had like our heads were wrapped in green material, like green screen stuff, so
Mhm.
that they could remove our heads, and but there's a scene with Joe Pesci, and Joe Pesci's in the bed, and we're all surrounding him. He like wakes up, it's like all the headless guys that I think he cut their heads off. I don't even remember. But Joe Pesci's in bed. They bring in the star, and I'm there with a bunch of stunt guys. And Joe Pesci's in the bed. And before we're filming, I grab his knees and I open him up and I put my hands between his legs. I went, push, push. I can see the head. Come on, bear down. You can do this. And the stuntmen are looking at me like, Gary's lost his mind. He's like attacking the star. They didn't know that I knew Joe Pesci from outside the, like socially. I was like friends with him because of Baryshnikov, the dancer. We were all like buddies. So they didn't know that I knew him. So that's a silly story. They go like, "Oh my God, Gary's going to get fired. Well, look what he's doing to the star." And then they go like, "Gary, knock it off." Joe Pesci. Hey, stop it. Hey, make him stop.
The two youths. Oh, that's fantastic. That is awesome.
Like D. Wallace in I gotta say in Cujo, D. Wallace. I knew D. Wallace. D. Wallace used to be a dancer, like a Broadway dancer. I
Oh,
knew D.
really?
Wallace, before and all that. So when I would do shtick with D, they were going, "What are you doing?" They didn't know I had a history with her, and we were, I could play with her. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right. I didn't know she was a
Because you've got to be, yeah, oh yeah,
wow, that's
very
awesome.
talented in a lot of areas. Yeah,
Yeah, I see her pop up on Instagram in various things sometimes, various posts from horror things. I'd like to meet her sometime,
yeah.
as you can tell. Well, how about what is the film you did with Gone Fishing with Joe Pesci and Danny Glover? Any memories of that?
Oh yeah. Uh, they wanted a stunt guy who could do some dialogue. Uh, I often get that. This is the life of the stuntman is you say two lines and somebody shoots you. You say two lines, somebody hits you over the head. You say two lines, somebody throws you out of a window. You say two, you know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
like two lines and then fall down.
right.
So you get that a lot. So I got this job. I was supposed to be a gas station attendant, and I say a couple of lines to Joe Pesci. He throws a cigarette out the window, and there's gasoline all over the ground, and it ignites into this big fire thing. You know what I mean? So that's why I did that, and it was taken down south. And Joe Pesci, like I knew from before, like I said, we were like pals, and he was coaching me on. I think the line was like, no smoking while I'm pumping gas. And Joe Pesci was coaching me on saying gas, to do the whole deeply Southern thing. But they were great. And Danny Glover was such a sweet guy. We did this.
The Beverly Hillbillies, the 1993 film.
All right. Well, I double animals a lot, and I have a bear suit. I've got a good bear suit, and I was doubling the bear in the opening sequence with Ellie Mae. Wait, was that her name in it?
It
Ellie
was
Mae?
Ellie Mae, yeah.
I forgot. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ellie Mae's wrestling a bear in the forest. So they have this is the way you do animal suits. You got a real animal that that you do certain things with, and then the cut up when you see Ellie Mae got the whole of the bear's foot, and first she like flips him over like a judo flip, and then got his foot, and all that, and then she puts it down, and then they cut to the real bear getting up and running out of the forest. So that's what I was doing in Beverly Hillbillies. But because of I'm doing this thing, I'm on location doing it, and I knew some of the stars from before. I knew Cloris Leachman because
Mhm.
I've done a movie, so I got to sit at that table with Jethro and Cloris Leachman and all the actors, for just for lunches and dinners at the hotel. And Cloris Leachman is one of those actresses. I got to tell you, certain actors, you go, oh, I loved you in Young Frankenstein, whatever. You know what I mean? And they'll go, oh, thank you. They don't want to talk. Cloris Leachman will do the character for you. You know what I mean? Oh, I loved you in Young Frankenstein. And she'd go, and she would like just go into the character and do shtick for you. You know, she would perform. So that was a fun movie too. You know, and the guy that played, Clampett,
Jim Varney.
what's his name? Jim Varney. Jim Varney and I hung out in his hotel. Jim Varney since died, hasn't he? I think Jim
2000. Yeah,
Varney's
he's
no longer
been
with
dead
us.
22 years. Yeah.
So I'm not telling any tales of it. So we would go in his room and smoke pot. You know what I mean? Because like two old hippie, and Jim would just tell me all these funny hillbilly stories because he was really a hillbilly.
Yeah. Ernest.
Lived in the South. And so I had a great time with Jim Varney on that too. And then Jethro, the guy that played Jethro, we were like friends from another thing. And, and he was young. And the director on that was like really tough on him. So,
Penelope Spheres,
anyway,
right?
yeah, Penelope was, whatever. She's actually a neighbor of mine in Laurel Canyon, Penelope.
Really?
We got along great. But she was a toughie as a director. But that was fun. What else did I do on that? I think, was it that? Because I worked with her. I can't remember if that one, doesn't something come down with a little cabin and like an avalanche comes down and wipes it out?
I think it.
No. That was a different Penelope Spheres. Yeah, that was somebody else. But anyway, I was the bear in Beverly Hillbillies.
I remember that scene very well. I was like, I bet that's scary, but I'm not sure when I watched it. I didn't know, but now that confirmed. But yeah, I figured that was you in the bear suit.
Yeah.
How about Santa Claus 3?
Santa Claus 3 was another fun one because it was Martin Short. And I double Martin Short a lot. I've doubled him kind of throughout his career here and there in different movies. So it's funny. There's one scene where somebody swings out on a rope and just knocks Martin Short, like knocks him down into a piano and the whole thing, And so I do this kind of hellacious fall, and Martin goes to me, "Oh, Gary, when are you going to retire?" Because we're both like the same age, and like falling down. He's like, "Oh, Gary, that hurt." No. But one day, I was in the full Santa Claus makeup, doubling Martin, and Bonnie, my daughter, comes in, and she sees me walking across the street. She goes, "Dad," she goes, "Dad, God, look at those contacts. They really put contacts in you and everything." And it was Martin. Martin goes, "Oh, darling, you have no idea who you're talking to, do you?" And she goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, Martin. Where's Dad?" He goes, "He just went on the set." But it's always fun. Martin Short's another sweetheart and buddy, and I love work. Any opportunity to get to work with Martin. But that was a fun one. We shot it in Downey at this old place where they used to make the space shuttle, this giant warehouse that was where they built the space shuttle, but they're not building it anymore. It's become a movie studio. So it was kind of fun, just being in that location and in that building. So that's
guys
my
kind of look
Santa
alike
Claus.
too. You guys kind of.
Oh yeah, we're the same. Yeah, same height. And Martin looks at us and looked at me one time and said, "Look at us, we're two aging imps."
Oh man, I can kind of hear him saying that now.
Yeah.
Well, I can't forget about this one either. The Muppets, the 2011 Muppets.
Yeah, I was these are stunt jobs. You know what I mean? I get called because I could also do some dialogue. I was an actor for years, so a lot of times I get stunts that have some dialogue. And it was Punch the Teacher. It was a game show. It was a game show on it called Punch the Teacher, and the kids have a quiz, and whoever gets the answer right gets to punch the teacher. And I'm in stocks, and the kids, excuse me, I'm in like stocks, like a stockade.
Mhm.
And if they get the answer right, they get to punch the teacher. And I was the teacher that they get to punch. So
I bet
I
the
forgot who
kids
was in
enjoyed that. I bet
oh yeah, yeah. I had
they
to
usually do.
train the kids not to really punch me.
Yeah, right.
You know, the way you do a stunt. This is the way you do a stunt punch. So
How about Hook with Robin Williams?
Hook was another one of those that was so much fun and very exclusive because they built a pirate ship at MGM, Sony Studios, the old MGM Studios. And it was the most amazing set you've ever seen. It was this giant, full-size pirate ship on the stage, and they flooded the stage with water. So the whole stage was like, it was one of those studios where they used to I think when they did like It's a Wonderful Life, where they had the big tank under it. So they flooded the whole stage, had this pirate ship, which was amazing. And I did all the, the stuff bangarang where you swing from the ship onto the, from the dock, swinging onto the ship, doubling Lost Boys. And that was another great R&D when we were on it for weeks and weeks working out, the logistics of swinging and getting all the ropes. And, there were, I forgot how many stunt people were on. It was a bunch of us, swinging onto the ship. And then there's a thing with a teeterboard, a circus teeterboard that, somebody jumps off and you jump up onto the ship. And, then there was these crazy ratchets where you grab onto a rope and they've got it on a compression thing where it literally jerks you 30 feet into the air to land on the ship. So we were doing all of those stunts. And every short stuntman in the business, and little people too. There was a bunch of little people doubling the kids at various ages. And because it was Steven Spielberg, the people that were coming to visit the set was a who's who of Hollywood. It became this big kind of inside thing. Do you have an invitation to visit the pirate ship?
Right.
People, I mean, Elizabeth Taylor, Michael Jackson, Prince. Every day there was a new celebrity showing up to see the set, because it was something to see.
That's amazing.
And Robin Williams,
good guy, right?
And Robin Williams, oh, the sweetest guy in show business. He would talk to extras, and you'd watch him, and some extra would just telling him this long story, and he was sweet and patient and would give everybody their time, and he did a lot of the wire stuff too. Of course, he had a stunt double that had a life mask made, that they would glue him in. So, I mean, it looked like you could be sitting talking to the stunt double. You thought it was Robin, for some of the more hellacious wire stuff, but Robin did a lot of it, and a lot of the sword fighting. And that was another one. We had sword fighting training days, at a big sound stage, and, like all the pirates on one side, all the Lost Boys on the other. And we would just work out all this choreography so that when you got on the set, Spielberg, they would say, all right, I want, give me four parry, 4 hits and a kill. 4 hits, give me 3 hits and a kill. Okay, this is a long one. You work out a 6-hit routine and then, kill the pirate. You know what I mean? So we had all this vocabulary of sword fighting stuff. You know what I mean? So that when you got on the set, you could just kind of plug it in and just go to the guy, and they're all numbers, give me a 5, a 7, I'll hit you with a 3 and I'll kill you, things like that. Or let's do rolling 3 5s, you know what I mean? So we could do it in a circle. And they were all choreographed sword fighting routines, and each hit and parry has a number. So you could say to the other guy, give me a 3 5. And he was going to hit your leg and you know what I mean? So that was an education as well. There's all stuff that you have in your pocket afterwards. I learned all of that. So when I had the audition for Zorro, I knew how to sword fight because of Hook,
Right.
Which served me well in the stunt industry.
Can you still do any of that stuff?
I do. Not a lot. I don't look at my age. I don't want to hit the ground anymore. I don't have to, and hitting the ground once is when you're doing a stunt, you're hitting the ground over and over another take it. You know what I mean? And you get injured. And
Yeah.
as you get older, you don't heal as fast as you do when you're younger. So I did a stunt a couple of weeks ago on the show Bosch, the TV show Bosch. I get a call from the coordinator. We need an old, skinny, pathetic looking homeless guy to say 3 lines and then get the crap beat out of him on the street. You know what I mean? So like, oh geez, okay. So I took that. A lot of times I'll get a call. My wife goes, "No, tell them no."
Well, what's the worst
I'm doing one next.
What's your worst injury from stunts?
I've had 18 orthopedic surgeries. I had a knee injury that really sidelined me for a long time. 4 surgeries and a knee replacement. I've had back surgery and shoulder surgery and ankle surgery and hamstrings reattached, and just you break something and you go get it repaired and you go back to work. But the worst injury, I don't know, knee, back, you pick it, but they're all fixed. But they all come back to haunt you as you get older.
Yeah, well, I remember telling you at the convention, I said, I've always thought about stunts, but I just don't want to get hurt. And you said, well, you probably will. And I was like, yeah, that's true.
Oh, if you're doubling like an actor in an action movie, if you're doubling the star, and then you're going to the hospital, I don't care what, you're going at one point or more during the production, you're going to end up in the hospital, either to get something stitched up or whatever it is, you're going to get hurt.
Just part
Somebody
of it,
said,
right?
then what's the trick? I said, the trick is not minding that it hurts.
Yeah. That is what you said. Yep.
So,
well, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that.
no, you're not going to do stunts.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a bit about, I was reading about the Big John toilets. How did that come about?
I did the movie Peter Pan in Australia, and I was on it for almost a year. I came back, I had a bunch of money, and I wanted to do something. I wanted to invent something, so there was like a certain kind of a bidet that I saw in Europe. So I went to a friend of mine who's a bathroom plumbing, designer, faucets and all that. And I talked about that. He goes, "You don't want to make that. Somebody already does it. You want to make something? Let's make this big toilet seat," because a lot of people come into the showroom and nobody makes a big toilet seat. So I got a special effects guy in to design it, a friend of mine, and invested in it and got it going. And we made the Big John toilet seat, which is, you could see it. We sell them all over the world, and developed this company, got the mold made, got the whole thing, started to do the, promote it. We were all over the place. And then I ended up selling the company to these 2 guys and kept a percentage of it. So, and they're doing a great job. I'm not a businessman, I'm a stuntman. So right. I got it all going and got it off the ground, and then sold it to these 2 guys, and they're doing great. Still available. You just type in Big John, Google it, and all our products come up. Bariatric problem. We sell to hospitals and retirement homes and all over the place. It's just a bigger toilet seat that works great for disabled people or larger people or anybody that's just bigger and more comfortable. Just a big, oversized toilet seat, and that's it. Big John toilet seat. That's the story.
I saw that on the Home and Family, one of the episodes you were advertising, showing off the products.
Yeah. Home and Family show, they do new products. And I actually did a Home and Family show. They did this thing on stunt people. And I staged a fight with the lead and with the host of the Home and Family show, and did a whole Western stunt fight with him.
Well, I
taught him how to throw.
That just reminded me, I don't know why. Did you work on the new Lassie, the television series?
No.
You did not. Because you have a credit on IMDb for that. And I was going to ask, because I saw the episode, I didn't see you in it, but you have a credit on IMDb for that.
I guess. I don't know. I don't think I did. You do a lot of these shows. I don't even remember. I get residuals sometimes. I go, what is this for? I don't even remember doing that,
Yeah, it
That's
was
the
for a
stunt.
thief. The role as a thief.
Role of the thief on Lassie.
The new Lassie was a TV series. They shot it at Universal.
I don't remember.
Hmm. Might
A
have.
lot of times, I don't put anything on IMDb. The studios do, or because I don't keep up that page. Some, when you go to work, they put it on.
Right.
So
Yeah.
maybe I did. I don't remember it.
I don't know. I just saw it. I figured out to ask. I said, maybe. Who knows? So you worked on the Baryshnikov special. I remember seeing some footage of that as well.
Yeah, I did both Baryshnikov specials. Baryshnikov in Hollywood. First was Baryshnikov on Broadway that we did in 1980. And it was this one choreographer, director that I worked for all the time called me up, said, I'm doing a special and I want you to dance with Baryshnikov. Now, I'm not a great dancer, but I'm a terrific tumbler. And they needed some acrobatics in the number, and they wanted, somebody to double Baryshnikov, like stunt-wise in certain things. So I got to be the Spirit of Oklahoma. We did all these Broadway shows. And I got to be friends with Baryshnikov at the time. And the very next special that he did was about, a year later or so, called Baryshnikov in Hollywood. And he said, get me Gary Morgan. He can't dance, but he makes me laugh. And that was for Michael Kidd, directed that. Michael Kidd was choreographed the movie Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. Michael Kidd is a famous old Hollywood choreographer, and he did that. And there was a bunch of stunts for Baryshnikov at the time. So I worked out all the stunts for him. And a lot of it he did himself, you know what I mean? But you work out the kinks so that it's not dangerous. When you double somebody like Baryshnikov or Gene Kelly, they go, well, I want him to do this, like on top of the tram for at Universal. There's a scene where he's on top of the tram. And so you get on the tram and you dial in the speed and you know what I mean, and the route that he's going to go, so you make it so he's not going to fall off. And at one point, I said, Misha, do a grand jeté, a big jump from one car to the other, because there was. And he looked, he said, what are you, crazy? I went, no, it's easy. Watch this. And I did my version of a grand jeté, to show him a couple of times. So he got up there and did it. But of course, when he did it, his leg just went whack. Like, this amazing. And they caught a still of him doing this big leap between the two tram cars. And it ended up on TV Guide, on the cover of TV Guide, you know what I mean? Him doing that. But he, it's Baryshnikov. He's an amazing athlete.
Yeah.
I got to double him in that too. I'm standing on top of the H of the Hollywood sign. Because right in the beginning of Baryshnikov in Hollywood, there's this little scene when he goes to the camera, Hollywood, how do you understand it? Hollywood, how do you conquer it? Hollywood, how do you get off of it? He looks down and they do a big helicopter pan back, and it's him standing on top of the H of the Hollywood side with this big helicopter pan. And then it says Baryshnikov in Hollywood. And it's the Hollywood side with me standing on the top of the H, but Misha is such an incredible athlete and everything. So you just, like I said, work it out, and then he steps in and does it.
Was that on
For
location? Were you actually at the Hollywood? Was that actually on location?
Yeah, a Hollywood sign.
Oh, geez, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, no, I was standing on top of the Hollywood sign.
Oh my God,
real Hollywood sign.
Wow. I thought maybe it was on the sound stage or something.
No, that was really there with a helicopter, and every time the helicopter turned to do the pan, the whole side shook. Oh, it was terrible. So I rigged the whole like wing walking thing on top of the H that I could lean on and built myself in. You know what I mean? So that when I would have fallen off this damn side. And it's
that's why I was concerned.
Yeah.
Was Bernadette Peters a part of that? Did she do one of his specials?
She was in that. Yeah. She was did this great pirate number, with Baryshnikov.
Yeah.
and it was with the Pirate King that I actually got my friend in to do. I got a friend who's this professional wrestler, big guy named Jay York, and who's a pal of mine. And I found they needed a Pirate King, and they were bringing dancers. And they said, "Oh no, we're going to bring." None of the dancers looked right. I brought a picture of my friend and the wrestler and showed it to Baryshnikov. I went, "That's the Pirate King." And he took it and brought it over to the director and goes, "That's who we need." And all the dancers didn't pan out that they were looking at. And I got my friend Jay to be the Pirate King with Bernadette Peters
Oh,
and
nice.
Baryshnikov.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I have to go back and watch that. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Oh, you'll see me in a bunch of it. I'm one of the little ensemble of dancers.
Yeah, some pretty neat
that's in it,
costumes in
so.
that as well. Yeah.
Oh, Dom DeLuise is in it. Who? That's a great show. He has all these. Shirley MacLaine is in it, doing a thing. It's a real fun, story. Yeah, you should watch that. Baryshnikov in Hollywood.
I will be checking it out. I think one of them is on YouTube actually in full, so I have to go check that out.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I found this photo on Facebook. Actually, I was going to ask you about this, and it's you jumping. Looks like you're jumping down a waterfall, but I think it's a swimming pool. I'm not sure. I mean, you're like full out like this, and you're like going.
Yeah. I was doing a swan dive off my friend's roof into the swimming pool. Now, the guy whose house it was created City Walk. He was the architect that designed City Walk at Universal, and he sold the house to Steven Tyler, and Steven Tyler lives there now. It's like right down the block from me, and that picture is me jumping off the roof into the swimming pool.
That is so cool. I was like, that's an epic photo. I was like, I wish I could do something like that. Oh, perfect. Well, I've heard via the article that came out, I think that was written about your family, that you guys throw like these outlandish parties, like these New Year's parties, and I've heard that they're like the most legendary party in Laurel Canyon.
Well, it's true. They're very big parties, and we rig a big 40-foot pole on my roof and drop a lighted ball like Times Square. But because we're on top of the hill, you could see it from all over Los Angeles. That ball going down on top of our thing. Yeah, no, we throw fun parties.
So that's like the West Coast ball dropping in Times Square.
Yeah, unofficial. The unofficial.
And I've seen a few photos, and I was like, oh, that looks like a great time. I thought I could throw good parties. I was like, no, they got me beat. Well,
we have.
I still actually, I was going to show you. I still have my Christmas card. Let me turn this light on. I still have my Christmas card that you sent in 2020.
Yeah, that was the COVID molecule that we did. We do these every year. I'm going to actually do a book. We've got 48 of those Christmas cards that are just outrageous. So I think we're going to produce a book about that.
I think you should. I think you should write a book about your life. I mean, I think that would be fascinating.
One day.
Yeah, I mean, these stories, I mean, it's like I could just listen to them for hours. It's like it's all this amazing stuff.
I got a lot of stories. This one guy, an older guy, said to me, when it's all said and done, all you got are memories and 8x10s. And it's true. It's memories and 8x10s. That means for photographs and 8x10 photographs. So
for sure, yeah. I mean, I'm actually with my family now. I'm actually taking all the old photos and asking who they are and like trying to archive who they are so that when they pass, I can pass along the information.
Yeah.
It was just a bunch of old folks. I'm like, I don't know who this is, so you got to tell me.
I know.
But this has been so much fun. Like I just love hearing your stories. I love talking with you at the convention, and I was so glad when you agreed to do this with me. I mean, it means so much to be able to learn all this stuff, and I really enjoy it.
You didn't ask about Pete's Dragon.
I did not.
I got to tell you, that's my favorite movie experience of probably my career, was doing Pete's Dragon. It was an old-fashioned musical, and that was another one. I was on it for 6 months, going to Disney Studios every day. rehearsing dance numbers and doing dance numbers, and I got to hang out with Mickey Rooney and Red Buttons and Jim Dale, and Jim Backus was on it, and all these old stars that were Shelley Winters played my mother.
Charles
Jeff
Tyner.
Conaway played my brother. Same Jeff Conaway from All the Way Home when I was, I was 10, he was 9. We played brothers in Pete's Dragon. Jeff Conaway, that was in Grease, played Kanicki, and in the show Taxi, So we got to be brothers on that. And that was probably my number one favorite movie experience was Pete's Dragon.
Well, Charles Tyner was actually born in the same city that I was, in Virginia.
Okay. Yeah, he played my dad in that movie.
Yeah.
So
no, I love the number that you all three do. Well, I guess 4 of you technically. Were at the beginning of the film. I love that as well. With all the acrobatics worked in, I'm like, wow, that's that's like very detailed, like same with the Pinocchio fun. With Sandy Duncan. I saw that recently too, where you were.
That was. Let me put this to. Okay, I'm back. The acrobatics, and I forgot what we were talking about. Pete's Dragon, the
Pete's
acrobatics.
Dragon, and then I said Pinocchio with Sandy Duncan as well.
Oh, Pinocchio. Well, Pinocchio was the same director that did Baryshnikov on Broadway. He hired me throughout my career. This one guy. They get like a little thing of players that you use all the time that do a good job for you. And his name was Ron Field, and that was Pinocchio. And in that too, he said, "All right, let's see I wanted to be acrobatic, and what could you show me that we could do with all this?" And I helped him put all that together, and that was fun. And Sandy Duncan is such a sweetheart too. And I had worked with Sandy Duncan years before when she first came to Hollywood from Texas. We did a production of Peter Pan, and she was Wendy. This is before she was Peter. So I knew Sandy for a long time. So Pinocchio was another great fun.
Have you ever worked with Tim Curry, since you've done a lot of the horror stuff?
I never worked with Tim Curry, but I got to meet and know Tim Curry. This is kind of a roundabout way. But when he first did Rocky Horror Picture Show, it was playing in Hollywood at the right next to the Whiskey a Go-Go. I forgot the name of the theater, but just a small little club in Hollywood. And they were doing the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And my neighbor was his doctor, and he was having a little throat problem, Tim Curry. So we went to see Rocky Horror Picture, and then got to hang out in the dressing room because my friend was the doctor. And, Tim was going, and he was like kind of treating Tim in the, so I got to hang out with Tim Curry backstage, during Rocky Horror. And, but I never got to work with him.
Yeah, a documentary just came out about the making of the It movie that he did. It's called Pennywise: The Story of It. It's really good. It's got Dennis Christopher, and it's got Tim, and it's got all the actors that were involved with that interviewed. It's awesome. It's out right now.
Yeah. Great. No kidding. I'll look, because Dennis Christopher's an old pal of mine.
Oh, really?
Way before, when he was just starting acting, he was one of my wife's roommates. She was living in this big kind of commune house in Laurel Canyon, and Dennis rented the garage. He was living at a little, like a loft in the garage. And we were friends way back in Laurel Canyon before he did any acting. He was trying to be an actor at the time. That was before The Wedding was one of his first things for Bob Altman. Uh-huh. And then he did Breaking Away, and then he became quite a big actor. Dennis Christopher.
Yeah.
But longtime friend, from Hollywood. I'm old, man.
Yeah.
I know people like way back.
All the people that I've always loved, like all these names. I'm like, I grew up watching all these people. Like, I admire them so much. I'm like, he knows everyone.
I was never a star. I would say I was kind of nibbling on the outskirts of the business. I worked a lot. I worked with great people, got to know them without actually being a celebrity myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but I worked with people, in their beginnings of their careers, and some went on to make it and some didn't, and
Right.
and
there's always a good story no matter what.
Yep. And remember, bad behavior makes good stories.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. Most of my stories are, bad behavior was involved a little bit. And you have a
I
beautiful
was
home
on
too. Just wanted to point
thank
that
you.
out.
It's a castle.
I'm admiring in the background. I'm like, this house is gorgeous.
A lot of stuff, very cluttered with interesting things. So,
well, that's what's important. The memories.
Yeah. And we're all collectors. My daughter's a big collector of eclectic, crazy, circus stuff and just bizarre, artifacts. So it's a very, very full and happy house that I live in.
Well, that's amazing. One can only hope to be as lucky and as fortunate. And I am myself, but I'm like, I just love seeing all the stuff back there, like that painting with the flowers back there.
Oh, my wife painted that. My wife's an artist.
That is amazing.
Oh yeah, wait a second. Let me see what I can do with this. My wife's an amazing painter. Let me pull this up. Look at that beautiful painting. Let me see. Can you see that?
I can. Yeah, I love that. I thought it was like a Van Gogh or something.
And that's my daughter Molly in that. And then look at this. This one is good too. That's.
Oh wow. Oh
yeah.
yeah. That's really cool.
That's my daughter Bonnie. We do Commedia dell'arte. That's her as Colombina. Yeah. My daughters and I do a Commedia dell'arte at the Renaissance Fair. And Bonnie directs them. And it's like a little family thing.
That's awesome.
So.
Well, I thank you so much for talking with me today. I don't want to take up any more time, but I really appreciate all this. I really appreciate it, and it's also counting us down like 3 minutes till it shuts us down again. So
okay,
I didn't want to end like abruptly.
It was a pleasure talking. It's okay.
And if
it was a great pleasure.
Well, it was for me too. And honestly, if you ever make your way to the East Coast, find yourself in DC, that's where I live, please let me know. And I'd love to get dinner or coffee or something.
I would love to do that. I just did one called Messiah the Musical in DC at the University of DC, a big Christian musical. I'm a Jewish Jesus freak. So this was called Messiah the Musical. And I got hired to be in that, and it was in Washington D.C. and really a blessing to do those kind of things too.
Oh, for sure. So, yeah. I wish I'd have known about it. I would have came out.
Next time.
Hey, definitely let me know. I would love to. I'd love to come out and hang out again. And if you come back to that convention, I'll definitely come back to that as well.
Okay.
I told my buddy Patrick. Nice talking with you as well. I told my friend Patrick, I said, you realize the only reason I'm going to this convention is to talk to Gary, right? He's like, I understand. I was like, so just bear with me.
I'm flattered.
Well, I want to be you when I grow up.
Don't grow up. It's overrated.
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to figure that out a little bit. So, but again, thank you so much, and have a great rest of your day.
Okay.
And good luck with the job, with your beard.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.